Good day. Welcome to the IOTA Security Experts Panel. I'm Brian Sherman, Content Director for IOTA and host of today's session, where we'll be discussing security implications for MSPs supporting remote and hybrid work environments, and probably a few other things as we go too. I'm pleased to have three respected industry professionals joining us today, including Zak Karsan, CEO of Vault America, Mark Glowacz, Director of Partner Success at mailprotector, and Phil Burnett, Chief Information Security Officer at Highwire Networks. Welcome to the IOTA Security Experts Panel, gentlemen.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Glad to have us.
Good, great. Glad you could join me today, and hope to have a really fun conversation and fun and interesting conversation. Let's put it that way. But why don't we start off with some brief introductions? If you could tell us briefly about yourself and your company. Why don't we start with you, Phil?
Sure, thank you, and welcome everybody. My name is Philip Burnett. Phil is good. I'm the Executive Vice President of Security Operations and also the hat for CISO for the corporation as well for Highwire Networks. We basically, for more than 20 years, have been providing, has been a partner to VARs, MSPs, distributors, integrators, et cetera, around the world, allowing flexible and on-demand services around the world, so 180 countries roughly. We also have a dedicated security service that I've been managing for the last couple of years, providing SOC as a service and stopping the bad guys. And hopefully today, with the rest of the partners on the panel, we can give you guys some ideas on how to stay safe and make some money.
Awesome. And Mark, you've been with us previously, but why don't you do a brief intro and tell us about mailprotector?
Sure. So I'm the Director of Partner Success at mailprotector. mailprotector's purpose is to provide solutions for email security, compliance, and encryption. Encryption's really the exciting product that we've had over the last few years. It is a patented email encryption solution. And really, our sole purpose is to help channel partners make sure that they are providing secure and easy to use email security solutions for their clients. And of course, my team helps partners be successful with those in any manner or use case that they have.
Excellent. Thank you. And last but not least, Zak Karsan, tell us about Vault America and yourself too.
All right. Thanks, Brian. CEO of Vault America. We've been in the channel for 17 years. We provide some of the best Microsoft 365 Exchange, Google Workspace, fully compliant archive and backup solutions available anywhere in the channel. I'm also CEO of Secure Eden, which has an extremely disruptive patented technology to protect critical systems. We essentially make networks invisible. One day there will be an MSP play, but that's more of a government play at this point. We're currently in stealth mode with Secure Eden, raising angel investment. But Vault America, the tie-in is Vault America is a strategic investment partner of Secure Eden. Proud to be channel chief for 8 times over the years, been in this industry a little while. In addition to my passion for the channel, I'm on the board of directors, excuse me, for Scleroderma Foundation New England. Scleroderma is a rare disease that literally, gradually, and painfully turns the bodies of men, women, and children into stone. It's my personal mission to help find a cure for this awful, debilitating disease. So that's I do all this because I love security, technology, but ultimately my goal is to, my passion is to help find a cure for scleroderma.
A very worthy cause, Zak. You've been doing some great work along that front too, and on the cybersecurity space, which we definitely appreciate too. So, before we get to the main part of the discussion, why don't I start with what's one thing you plan to do when the world returns to normal, whether it's personal or business? I know it's been a while since we've actually been able to think about that. Mark, you want to start us off?
Sure. So I live in Austin, Texas, but pretty much my entire family's in Chicago and the northwest part of Minnesota. So for sure, soon as it makes sense, we will definitely be visiting family. Just Zoom just isn't quite good enough. Can't get a hug on Zoom. So very much looking forward to being able to be in the same room with a family member.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, a virtual hug is not quite the same, huh?
Yeah, no, not quite.
Great. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, just like Mark said, just getting out. I recently took a trip to Arizona and came back and realized that, the flyover states, there's a lot to see. So I want to go see the big heads in South Dakota and see some of the Midwest. Definitely want to get out, and get to see the world.
Excellent. Zach, is there a boat in your future? Is that what I'm thinking?
There a boat? I don't know about a cruise liner boat, but no, we have a timeshare in Mexico. So the family and I have been going down, spending Christmas in Cancun for the last, well, since 1983, almost every year. So we skipped it because of C-19 this past year. So I'd like to jump on a plane and get back to Cancun and chill out if possible this year, hopefully. Before that, can't wait to get to some industry events and see partners, friends, and family. So we'll see what comes first, but hopefully the industry conferences.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think personally, even I'm just waiting to get back to, seeing some nice family weddings and things where you can go see people as a group and celebrate. I think we're well overdue for celebrations.
Sure.
So hopefully we'll get to that point quickly. So thank you for sharing. Let's shift into the topic today too. And I know it's something we've kind of talked about for a while now. But at the same point, there's some unique twists on today's topic. So over the past year, we've seen a lot of workplace changes between the pandemic and state and local regulations. What are some of the challenges for MSPs associated with a transformation to remote and hybrid environments? And I'd like to put a little emphasis on that hybrid point because there's so much uncertainty still about what's going to happen between MSPs and their clients and where their clients may end up, whether it's in a month from now or 3 years from now. Do you want to share some insight from your perspective? Why don't I start with you, Phil?
Sure. Thank you. Oh, that's a great question. And when I was reading through it, I thought about it quite a bit. I said, there's two camps. There are the camps where the people last year during COVID buckled down and focused on, the compliance issues, getting all their ducks in a row, making sure policies and procedures all were nailed down and current. And then the ones who didn't, those are the ones who focused on other things. So I think what I'm getting at is we're going to be able to see this year, I think as things open up, who bet on the right horse. So compliance is going to be huge, especially with the recent, evidently the breach of the Microsoft code, right? Their code base is out there. We're going to see so many 0 days come from that you wouldn't even imagine. So compliance can help in that you've secured the doors and your policies and procedures in response, but also did you train the people up? Did you take the right education? Did you add the right technologies? Did you partner with the right people? I mean, we're all talking about channels here. We're really in a channel. We're really partners with each other, helping each other out. Because one thing I like to do, if I can't answer a problem for a partner, I have a partner that can help the partner. So we're all in this as a family against the bad guys. So I like to think that we gambled on the right horse, and I don't mind passing off to the next guy saying, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Right?
Yeah, definitely. Mark, what do you think are some of the challenges for MSPs?
I sometimes think a little bit closer to the endpoint personally. Having been a managed service provider for nearly a decade, it kind of ends up that way for me. And to your point, the hybrid deployment of workforces in a hybrid manner, I think is going to be pretty important. And MSPs probably have started to see increases in co-management. And I think co-management is also now going to have, to the hybrid point, potentially having to work with a client that has both a significant remote staff that's going to need your typical help desk type of services, but then also have a co-managed environment with headquarters or corporate, whatever you might call it. And that's going to change how managed service providers work with their clients. And the intricacies and the devil in those details is going to be, how can you standardize as much as possible, be it compliance, be it security, whatever the technology is. It's going to take some thinking and probably some new processes that managed service providers haven't had to tackle, because we made this significant and rapid shift to remote. Now we're going to trickle back to some type of hybrid probably. And here we go again. Got to start coming up with some new things.
Well, even in the MSP space, though, too, Mark, you mentioned you used to be an MSP. I've seen quite a few that are still working themselves remote or have team members remote. They're kind of looking at the same issues. What will it look like when everybody's free to go up, roaming about again?
Yes. Yeah. And I think people have learned to appreciate being able to work from wherever, even if it means I can work from my phone at a coffee shop outside. I think people are going to want to do that.
Coffee shop, you got me thinking now. Now I need coffee. Not allowed to bring up food when we're on a security panel. No, that's great. Zach, let's transition to you. What do you think are the big challenges right now as we look at people repopulating or at least planning what comes next?
Yeah, so I think to start with current day events, which there's unfortunately a lot of hacks and attacks. Phil's hit it right. Just evidenced by the Microsoft Exchange Server hack. MSPs must migrate their customers right to 365, secure them, because obviously the Exchange servers, 30, 60, 90, 120,000, whatever issues going on. Who knows what it is, but how many there are actually out there. But I think to secure initially, and our MSPs right now, we see it happening, right? They're staying up late at night to get their customers off Exchange servers and onto 365. Hopefully that cloud's okay. Or, Google Workspace, they call it now. So again, just getting that more secure hosted environment, because some of the legacy stuff obviously has a lot of holes and bugs in it. Software, right? And software does have bugs no matter what kind of software it is, but hopefully the cloud is more secure, as we're finding with all the capabilities that are there. So migrating those folks over is important. I think from an MSP standpoint too, time and resources are always very precious, whether you're a small MSP or a large MSP. So addressing and with the pandemic, obviously everyone's saying, okay, work remotely. Remote access needed to be set up, right? I think a lot of folks have that now. Data security is still an issue. Network security is still an issue. So, encryption, things that Mark provides on his side, things that we all provide just to manage, monitor as best as possible, and securing data like we do, make sure that data is encrypted offsite. All those assets, the crown jewels for our company, are secured. And then finally, I think from a remote monitoring standpoint, and I kind of take a different approach here, where everything's cyclical, and so integration, yes, I get it. One pane of glass, yes, I get it. At the same time, you look at SolarWinds. I got to bring it up. Sorry, SolarWinds, but I mean, it's an example, right? I mean, there's a lot of companies that it could have happened to anybody, and it probably will happen to somebody else, unfortunately. But with MSPs providing that remote capability, that agent becomes a sleeper agent, and that creates a tunnel. And so, disconnection is kind of the best form of security. Isolation is, unfortunately, that creates a problem for operations and MSP access to manage and monitor remotely and provide that level of service. But, I look at it and say, okay, maybe you should kind of limit or make sure you check out the providers, which is, again, hard to do. It's not fair to anyone, or SolarWinds for that matter, but who are you dealing with? Because once you have that port open and that connection is there, right? If there could be a way to do an instant on, instant off to block that port, or altogether on the other side of the spectrum, which MSPs won't agree with, but don't connect, right? Or have the customer say, hey, you have a couple options here. We can put that agent on and be always on and always open, but sign off on this, because that creates a hole. So maybe from an insurance standpoint, cybersecurity standpoint, that secures the MSP a little bit more if they are getting customers to sign off. Just like if they reject a backup solution, all right, sign here, right? You go down. So those are some of the things that kind of popped in my head.
No, that's very good. I think on the diligence point, especially with so many vendors being a target now. Vendors are target, MSPs are targets. If you got security in your name, you're probably being targeted by somebody at this point, whether it be in Russia, China, or mom and dad's basement, wherever that may be right now. But I want to take a step back too, because I mentioned earlier that we're past the 1 year point where many businesses have scattered and thrown their employees to the wind and put plans in place. So it's nothing new, especially for MSPs. They've done a great job as far as protecting their MSPs. Everything that they had instilled for years worked well. That's the one comment I hear back is like, it's so great, the cloud worked. I'm glad we talked our clients into this, and those that didn't move pretty quickly into that format. But let's take a step and look at the actual end user side. What are some of the things that businesses need to consider when their employees are no longer working inside the corporate firewall? Or there's some additional things MSPs need to be educating their clients on? I'll just throw this out there for anybody who wants to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I can start with it. I think there's probably all have a lot of opinions on this one. Maybe it's not practical for a lot of companies, but looking at defense contractors and companies like that, I mean, they're a little more stringent, a little more strict on policy. I think it's important to give everyone a dedicated company computer to start with, and assess the current work from home environment. That creates a revenue opportunity. But again, it's peace of mind. The executives at these companies, CFOs, CEOs have a fiduciary responsibility. So when you're dealing with that type of situation that we're all dealing with and budget, there's money there, right? So go get it, position it in the right way. And the customers will pay. I mean, if they know what's good for them. But you're trying to do the right thing as an MSP, right? And that's the battle. It's nobody wants more insurance. Nobody wants to pay for data backup. Nobody wants to pay for email encryption. But guess what? Then sign here, right? Bottom line, protect your ass, literally your assets, your customer. So I think mandating a security standard that every MSP needs to provide to their customer and mandate to their customer is important. Deploying data network protection, right? Backup recovery solutions, network security, things like that to protect those company assets, those crown jewels. There's huge revenue opportunities there. So it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing from an MSP standpoint. And I think if you position it correctly, customers will understand that you have their best interest in mind.
Yeah. Phil, thoughts?
Oh yeah, I just echoing what Zach has said too. After you've done all that, then you gotta secure the human, right? So you need to educate them. We've implemented recently random phishing testing again. It used to be a big rave a few years ago, but we brought it back. Now we're doing random monthly phishing tests on our employees. We're offering it to our partners and customers as well, saying, look, it's only a couple of dollars a month or something, but hey, it keeps people thinking. You need to be thinking before you click on a link. You need to be thinking before you answer an email. When you put something in an email, should you be sharing it? Who's the big sin, right? Is reply all. When you hit reply all and you put something in there you shouldn't, and wow, you got to go track it down. How do you get it? It's on everybody's phone. It's on any portable device. And, it's gone. So you have to be very careful. And so I would focus on securing the human. That's the first thing we're going after.
That makes perfect sense. Mark, any thoughts to throw in?
It's all great points, and I think what I'm hearing almost is like boiling it down to providing options, but what I'm hearing is let's centralize and secure the data because the workforce is going to be distributed. And to Zach's point, I think businesses are going to have the money for it because there's going to be a reduction in cost associated with leases and equipment and furniture because there's not going to be as many bodies in offices. So those funds probably have to be redistributed to the opportunity of securing the data and allowing the employee to roam the world and still be productive. And all those things are opportunities for managed service providers. We just have to have those conversations, really try and think together as solution providers, as managed service providers, and Zach securing the data, Phil's solutions of watching what's happening with that data, even if it's a little more decentralized, and then taking action. And then, of course, making all this available from anywhere in the world. Those are big things, and big things come with big opportunities, and we just have to try to recognize them as best we can.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I think that the struggle that I've heard back from a lot of the MSPs is those things don't happen overnight. A lot of times, when you're talking, especially like real estate, trying to reconfigure what their businesses look like could take not just days but years. Depending on leases and other things they have in place, if they want to sell any real estate. So for MSPs, it's critical to be in communication with them, I think, on a constant basis to figure out the long-term plans and figure out how they can support it with technology, with security, definitely with end user training. Phil, that's a great point too. It's going to be an ongoing battle to try to overcome complacency that some end users have when they're working from home too. That's one thing we've been talking about a little more recently is people act differently when they're not inside the firewall than when they're outside the firewall, which almost requires additional layers of security or at least monitoring of their systems. So
Yeah, well, Brian, part of it too is in the compliance world, now's a really good time to review all your contracts, do a legal review of them. Look for, termination for convenience and those kind of things where, you have options to pivot, et cetera. So contract review is critical right now.
have you been talking to Brad Gross, the attorney? Because I think Brad was just mentioning this. I heard him earlier on the conversation.
No,
Great timing.
I worked in healthcare really closely with the legal team, and they remind me often, or they used to remind me often about the verbiage in contracts because in the end, words matter.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know, earlier Zach brought up Microsoft 365, talked about Google. The adoption of those cloud platforms is going through the roof, especially with the new environment. What are some of the best revenue opportunities for MSPs with clients that are moving to these platforms? And why don't I start with you, Mark?
Sure. Well, I'm going to start with the bad news, and that is these platforms are ubiquitous. And because of that, there's an expectation that people are going to have it and it's always available. So I always carefully use the word commoditized, but the reality is there is some commoditization of this. And you look at the Microsoft partner opportunity with something like 365, and it's been a while since I looked at it, but maybe you guys know it's like 7% margin, maybe a little more, but I doubt it's double digits. So the opportunity isn't in the product itself. The opportunity is in the expertise of deploying that, of educating the users how to make the most of it. And then, of course, bringing in the ancillary services and solutions to secure it and protect it and provide that complete package. And that's where you really start to make the business opportunity around that consultative approach and the actual expert implementation of it so that it's smooth and taken care of. I think there's an enormous opportunity in using those platforms. And I think it also frees up the managed service provider from having to worry about those bits and bytes and the blinking lights in a data center and focus on what is actually important to your business client. That is going to be the bigger opportunity.
Right. And it's an opportunity, especially I think for security over many of the different aspects of these platforms too. Like I would imagine, because I know mailprotector is a good layer, not to advocate it, but it has a very good fit for providers that are doing Microsoft 365. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And layer is the right word. We've had so many partners come to us and we've had these conversations about, the 365 platform does have some email security already built into it. But if you really take a look at it, and the partner's experience has really backed this up, is Microsoft's really not putting a lot of resources into it. And even what they do provide, it's pretty minimal. It's tough to manage. It may not actually check the boxes for a certain business use case. So you want to find a layer that's going to meet those business needs. Mailprotector is one of them, and we do it in several different ways. But these platforms are also giving opportunities to us, like Mailprotector and Vault America and Overwatch, the ability to plug into that platform through APIs and really make that experience tighter, easier to manage for the managed service provider, and overall a better experience for the end user, which ultimately means they're going to use the tools and keep that data secure and protected.
Very good. Phil, any points to add on there as far as revenue opportunities with those platforms?
Sure. I mean, we have to once again take a look at total cost of ownership, right? So we take the MSP and you look at your portfolio and you say, which one of these solutions that we offer to our channel and our partners, which of them work good together? I mean, how many account executives really understand the value and the time savings? Because time is the only thing you can't get back from like an orchestration or some automation and response rules from a security perspective, right? Slamming the door on the firewall for a bad guy from a known domain or things like that. How many of those orchestration capabilities, like APIs, like Mark was mentioning, how do you have those connections in your client environment to make that stuff happen? Because it costs a lot more money to tear down and rebuild than it does to block. So prevention is a good idea. and being aware, monitoring and making sure you got the right people watching when you're sleeping. So we like to say, we're a trusted advisor as well as a trusted partner. So we can advise by using, network discovery tools and things to see what's in the environment and what needs protecting. Because the bad guys are always looking for a way in. They don't care what it is.
That makes perfect sense. And Zach, on the data backup side, right? You don't need to back up any of these platforms, correct?
No, everything's all set, completely secure. Don't have to encrypt anything. Don't have to watch anything. No,
Just blockchain it all.
yeah, no, it just works, right? Microsoft just works. So yeah, I mean, again, just to support the sentiment that Mark and Phil have. Again, you said it right, Mark. I mean, there's X% for 365, right, as a Microsoft partner. And then there's, A through Y or whatever you want to call it, a lot more opportunities to add revenue, right? So whether your customer on the Vault America side already has, and is installed and you've migrated them over to 365, well, okay, just add encryption, right? Add as a one-off, right, for each one of those users. Add a backup solution, right, archiving solution in some use cases, right, for fully compliant solutions, and bundle those, add those in so it becomes a bundle. Or if you're going to another new customer or existing customer that you haven't migrated over, create your bundle, right? Add the encryption, add your backup. Don't sell it individually, right? Add your complete monitoring, right, Phil? I mean, put your price tag down, and that's how much a Microsoft 365 license costs, period, right? They want to pay less, well, then sign here, right? And it's not the order, it's sign here, right? So you're rejecting what you need to have in place to make things happen. So again, there's a lot of revenue there. You can really increase your profit margin big time and take that whatever 8% or whatever it is and kick that way up. So if you do it right, our partners are doing it right. Every single license they sell on that migration path, they're adding a lot of profitability to that because they are just bundling everything in, not giving the customer the choice, securing their butts, as well as making sure their customers are protected as well. So at times they'll actually let the customer go instead of taking the customer on if they don't buy into their bundle, their package, right? Yeah. That revenue.
That makes sense. Now, don't want to call it an age on anybody here, but do you remember the old Sears catalogs when they would have good, better, best? Mm-hmm. It was like they had 3 options you could buy, whether it was a lawnmower or a blender or whatever it was. It always comes back to that when we're having these discussions the basic platforms are good. They work. Microsoft works most of the time. I know there's some issues occasionally, but for most MSPs, they're really trying to build that best package because it's the best security package, best quality for them now. And to your point, Zach, I think is if that's the best package that you think everybody should have, promote the daylights out of it. Don't deviate when it comes to that point. They do struggle, I think, when it comes to nonprofits of how to fit everybody in, but in many cases, they'll take a loss leader on some things in order to support some of those organizations.
Yeah, look, I'll give you an example. So one of our partners, I just talked to him this week. I make it a point of talking to the owners and things as much as possible just to get what they're seeing. And, MSPs are an advocate, right? They want to migrate their customers over. They want to put the encryption in. They want to do the monitoring. They want to do all this stuff. But in this situation, pretty big insurance company, the MSP said, I'm like, what's the problem? It should have been a slam dunk. These guys get it. They have a responsibility. They said they don't want to migrate to 365. They want their Exchange servers. They want the stuff patched and fixed as best as possible. So, and that's just what they wanted. So the MSP was like, look, I'm not going to fire they've been a customer 20 years. So we bill them more hours, but they want to keep everything in place. They don't want to deal with migration. So those situations are happening, right, with MSPs. So we're sensitive to that fact. So again, you can only do what you can do, right? But at least, like with Vault America, we can still protect their Exchange server and back that stuff up and protect it, right? Their emails and things. So that's fine. There's still a play there, but again, certain situations, the MSP might not be able to migrate them over, right? But again, still protect that data, still encrypt that data, still watch that data, that information, that network. So it just depends on the situation.
Yeah, and I know there's always one-offs too, but this is probably a good time when you're evaluating, if you're an MSP and evaluating your clients, is what do they need to have, and then what are your recourse if they don't want to go down this route? What are the choices? And some will walk away, but other MSPs see those as opportunities too. If their competitor is walking away from clients, they can walk in all day long and charge a little more as well. So how do if you were putting yourself in an MSP space, how do you set those type of policies? Does anybody want to jump in on this?
I'll start. Just from my experience, I Zach's been mentioning this. I would tell a client, here's your best option. This is what it looks like. It is my expert opinion to consult you to go in this direction. But you don't want to do X, Y, and Z, no problem. Please sign here, acknowledging that you're taking these risks. And that usually is enough to continue the conversation and help those businesses to realize, yeah, that's probably a bigger risk than I'm willing to take. So I'm going to have to do what's being recommended. And it comes down to what we started with is this is another hybrid situation. You need these solutions, but you also have to have a little bit of flexibility in there for those environments like the insurance companies that want to keep their on-prem stuff. It doesn't necessarily change the solution. It just changes what you're plugged into to protect the data. That flexibility has to be a part of the managed service provider's tool set.
Yeah. Philip brought up earlier too, I think compliance, right? Philip, it has to be a big factor in that, is what different regulations those clients are being required to meet.
Yeah, and you have to, when you're presenting the good, better, best, like Zach brought up, and like you brought up with the Sears catalog, I hadn't thought of that 40-pound book in a long time. Is that you have to present it to them. You say, look, instead, when you're signing on the dotted line, here's the risk that goes with it. Here's what compliance, say they're SOC 2, already SOC 2, right? You say, well, your controls and your policies, things state you're going to do X, Y, and Z. This is going to put that perimeter at risk, or this could put this the other, and that will force them and drive them to go back to their risk register and enter in some more data and start saying, well, our apparent risk now is higher than it was. So, maybe we can't afford the best, but we can get good and have a roadmap to best. And then you look at a way and you say, okay, well, as an MSP, our job is to guide you down that path and put you along a path that you can afford, but still provide you the best that you can at the moment, but also realize there's a lot of manual stuff that goes with the slow road. So automation is expensive. Buying tools that automate, that are AI enabled and respond, cost more than the old, printing out the logs. And I can remember back in the day printing out firewall logs and going through them with a pen and paper, saying, hey, we're looking for this IP, looking for this rule, et cetera. So it just depends on where you're at and what they can afford, but we should guide them as an advisor. Not have them sign on the dotted line and say, well, we're going to wash our hands with you. What we're saying is that we've helped you understand the risk. You understand it, you accept it, but we're here to help you. And if a crisis comes up, we're still here 24/7 because we're your partner. So there's a lot to do there and a heavy lift. But I think as MSPs and channel partners, we owe our customers that level of assurance.
Excellent point. Now, we've been through more than a year of the pandemic, and everybody's tired of it, ready to go back. But also, all really the signs are pointing towards a wind down, either late summer or fall. Some regions will be a little quicker than others will, as we've seen from, I think, from experience over the last year. How do you think the return to normalcy, whether it be more abrupt or slow, will affect the channel in general? I know it's a pretty general question, but I'd like your thoughts on what we might see over the coming 3 to 6 months, in your opinion. Zach, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's going to be all positive. It's going to be beautiful. I mean, we're going to see our channel, friends and family. It's going to be able to cheers at a bar and enjoy ourselves. But seriously, I mean, I think I've talked to some CEOs of some larger companies and asked them the same question, right? And there are buildings being shut down, a percentage of the workforce will not return because of all the remote options, right? That are great because when this happened, MSPs have never been so busy, right? Hooking up networks and, yeah, we didn't see them at trade events, but you know what? Their cash register was ringing. Those hours, they probably had some of the best years that they've ever had, I got to imagine. Still sort of being around and picking up tchotchkes and being at events and socializing and which we all love to do and give away and all of that stuff and have a lot of fun on the road. But their heads were down. They were busy, right? So a lot of that is not going to be for nothing, right? There's going to be that certain percentage, I don't know how much, but they're going to be remote and they're going to need the tools that we've been providing, that they've been installing. So I feel like, will everything go back? It's going to be a new normal. I think it's, we'll get back. Things are cyclical, human nature, we're going to get back at some point, maybe not to 100%, because this has been an incredible opportunity for a lot of firms to show the products that they have, the remote solutions that they have, remote meetings, whatever it is that are adopted. Grandmothers, grandfathers even are using Zoom, right? And WebEx or whatever it is. So things are going to stay, and it's the new digital age, right? Things are virtual. Kids were already at home on their computers before the pandemic hit, talking to their friends, right? Sitting on the couches, texting each other, right? Which in my generation, Sears generation, whatever. It's a little bit nuts, but things evolve, right? And so, I had a black and white TV back in the day, right? With little rabbit ears. But again,
man, you are old.
Yeah, well, that was, that was given to me. I couldn't buy one of those when I was younger. So just I'm not that old. But no, so, again, I think things are going to come back to a new normal. Socially, we're going to be back around. Hopefully these strains, look, all the pharmas are doing well. There's a light at the end of the tunnel here. It's a bright light. It's just a little bit of a different light, with a couple different shades. But, we're human. We'll all be good. It's just a matter of, it's going to take some time. We might be wearing masks for a while, but hey, that's all right. We do what we got to do. For those that need, want to do that, and those that don't, it is what it is. But again, no bias. No, I'm not getting into politics, but we'll be back. And I look forward to seeing all the friends and family on the channel and partners and getting out there again. Hopefully sooner than later. But until that time, I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Mark, what do you see coming in the channel the next few months?
So I'm very optimistic as well. I think we saw a lot of knee-jerk reactions, a lot of urgency and speed to pivot when the pandemic started. Whenever you do that, you're gonna bruise your elbow, skin your knee, happens. And now we're going to have the luxury of trying to return to normal, but try and do that with a little bit more intention and the luxury of a little bit more time. And I think those are going to be luxuries that are appreciated more than they ever have been, just because this is all so fresh in our mind. And I think the managed service providers will be able to kind of, going back to that good, better, best, say, hey, we got you into the better situation when we made this quick pivot. Let's start working towards best. And this incredible couple of years of revenue with that knee-jerk reaction that occurred, it's not over. It's just now going to be this new normal, whatever that normal is going to be. And it's one of the beautiful things of running companies in this country, is no matter the challenge, no matter the difficulty we're faced with, we have this amazing resiliency. And even though we do sometimes bruise our elbows and skin our knees, in the end, it's better. It's always gotten better. And that's something that I just try to remember, because it's exciting. And I can't wait to see what the next few months to a year look like.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I know we're talking to the IOTA advisory board members, and they said they probably never had the opportunity to be so engaged and communicate so much with the decision makers, which is a good thing. I'm hopeful that would continue after this, because they realize how important MSPs are to their business. Phil, let's get your thoughts on that topic.
Sure. Just, chiming in with the guys. One thing we've noticed too is that there's going to be some attrition, right? We have people who don't want to return to the office. We have workers around the world. And when we started to discuss the return to the office policy, right? Go back where you need, because there's a lot of collaboration that happens when you're in the pit together, right? The topic came up, some of the executives at some of their staff said, well, people are going to start looking for other places that allow 100% remote. So we have to be prepared for that. And so I've even reached out and I'm trying to build partnerships with staffing firms saying, hey, if I need a quick response here, do you have somebody on the bench, or how you can build up some IT, some basic admin, server skills, whatever, because some of your most skilled people who you wouldn't know, all of a sudden they say, yeah, I got a better opportunity and I can work from home 100%. I don't necessarily want to drive into the office. So there's that possibility, right? Yeah. So just think outside the box and widen your network a little bit. People don't typically want to hook up with the staffing agencies because we think, oh no, hiring fees, right? But it's good to at least know the people.
That's a great discussion point too. You don't even think about the personnel or the people that have gotten used to working remote. Do they really want to go back? That's a great point. Might lead to some career changes along the way.
I think a lot of people do want to go back and get the heck out of the house and get back to hopefully normal. But at the same time, I think that's maybe not the employee's option because the company is shutting down some offices. And I know somebody close to me, they just were told, and she wants to get back to the office, but now they sold the building, right? They have headquarters, but basically they said, no, you're going to have, it's going to be a pod situation. So she's moving from an office to no office to going in 3 days a week to a pod with 5 seats. And basically they're going to rotate 2 days on, 2 days off for each person. But other than that, they're going to be at home. So you see this kind of hybrid element coming into play, good, bad, or indifferent. These things are going to be prevalent across our world, I think.
Yeah. I couldn't wait to get back into my office. So I understand that point is there's things you can do at home and there's things you can't. So yeah, it goes both ways, I guess. There's going to be some changes everywhere. So great. I want to be respectful of your time today and to our listeners too. So why don't we do a quick round of final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with today before we close out? Phil, why don't I start with you?
Sure. I want to first thank you for this opportunity. I was, invited to this and it was a great conversation. I want to just remind the people out there is, think secure, make sure, think before you click, reach out to your channel providers, partners, friends, neighbors, and make sure they're doing okay, right? Because there's a lot of COVID PTSD going on. I have a brother that's impacted. He had it and he's having some issues, and those people forget that your health can be impacted in ways you didn't think of. But make sure you know what you're doing and reach out to your partners and, stay safe.
Excellent points. And we'll keep your brother in our thoughts too, Phil. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, it's I'm going to hang my hat on the optimism. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, like Zach had mentioned earlier. Focus on that. Remember that that's coming, and just make the most of it. We've got endless opportunities. Be secure, be thoughtful, but most of all, be well and be successful. It's what the luxury that we have being in the industry that we're in.
Very true. And Zach?
Yeah, thanks again to IOTA and Brian, and it's been a pleasure, Mark and Phil. Phil, my heart goes out to your brother and your family, and hope all works out well. To that effect, there's a lot of sad linings to this. Everyone knows somebody close or one separated. Somebody knows somebody that knows somebody, basically. So, but there are a lot of silver linings also. And so on that effect, at the same time, there's a lot of security issues. So I want to stay positive, but at the same time, I want to, just reinforce the fact why we're here today talking, protect your data, get that stuff encrypted, get that information protected, backed up, secure, monitored. We're here to help as vendors. We love the MSPs. We love the channel. We're here, right? And we're here to help you make the right decisions, position the right agreements, whatever you need, we're here for you. All of us as vendors, and obviously IOTA is as well, to bring us all together. So, thank you again, and we want to see you profitable. We're here to help you do that, whatever vendor you choose. But we're here for you.
Fantastic. Yeah, the community is very supportive, and I always encourage everybody to collaborate, communicate, and share as much as they can. So, on behalf of IOTA, I'd like to thank our panelists for joining me today: Zak Karsan of Vault America, Mark Glowacz with MailProtector, and Phil Burnett with Highwire Networks. I want to remind everybody, please be sure to check out our library of channel-related web panels and podcasts at iota.com. We've developed a tremendous amount of resources for you, the MSPs and MSSPs, so we encourage you to use them. I hope you all have a safe and secure day, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.